It is top 10 time. Our top 10 best movies of 2023. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 10th Justin and Tyler Movie Awards. Top 10 in 10. We are ready to roll our number 10 best movies of 2023. And this time, Tyler's going to start us.
So my number 10 is Barbie.
Ooh, okay. All right.
I mean, I have my qualms with the social commentary. We've talked about that previously when you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we need to go over it a lot again. But I will say, since somebody may not have watched the previous video,
go back and watch the other videos.
You should. The social commentary is very conflicting and confusing.
Yes.
Ultimately feminist, I get that, but I don't know that it knows what it's talking about. But it might. Whatever. It doesn't matter. So let's talk about the other stuff. This movie is endlessly entertaining. So funny, which surprised me. How much I laughed. The gags. From the moment you first see Ken to the point where they're talking about, like, I don't know if it's like ugly Barbie. It's like editor note or whatever note, like, do not use Margot Robbie when you're trying to make this point about being unattractive.
Right.
Just clever. I laughed a lot more than I thought I would. Like, I gotta be honest with you. I just did not expect to laugh and it'd be one of the best comedies of the year. Beautifully shot. I gave Greta Gerwig an honorable mention, but could have been top 3 directors.
Yep.
Wonderfully acted across the board. Some cool songs like I'm Just Kidding.
Anywhere else I'd be a 10. And here he is a 10. He's your number 10.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I guess if we wouldn't have kind of blew our load talking about it when you mentioned in your honorable mentions, I think, then I probably would have talked. This would have been a bigger conversation. But yeah, I do really enjoy this movie, and I watched it a second time.
Okay.
A few months ago, I was gonna watch it like a week or so before these awards, so I could have the commentary fresh. But I decided one day, a couple months ago, I just want to watch it now because I may not want to watch it. And I watched it, and I'm like, this is still great. I still don't know what it's talking about.
Right.
but,
and that's
but it's great.
Like, that's the point that I made when we were talking about it earlier, was like, there's so many ideas being talked about that I don't know if it knows which ones to focus on. Or, like, I don't, like... Or it's, at the very least, it's so many possibilities that it doesn't know which one to focus on. And to kind of what you said a little earlier, it may not even know which one it wants to focus on. Like,
it'll present a point, and you'll go, and then it'll contradict it with something else. Maybe the most interesting movie to talk about from this regard is Barbie.
Yeah,
we have a year where they released a movie about dropping bombs on Japan, and this is the movie that's more interesting to talk about in terms of, like, the commentary.
And those movies were out at the same time.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling how entrenched in the conversation even I was of Barbie, watching multiple videos of people's interpretations from different sides of the political aisle, and you know, it's Barbie.
Yeah.
Why are you like this, Barbie? But I do legitimately love the movie.
My number 10 best movie of 2023 is a movie where there's no ambiguity about what the messaging is at all. The movie is Elemental. And boy, did this movie ever hit me. And I did not expect Elemental to hit me the way that it did. I originally, like, I've seen this movie now, I think, 3 times. I saw it twice in theater because I saw it, and then I was like, I messaged my friend Caitlin, and I was like, you are going to fall in love with this. So we went to it, and then she fell in love with it, and then I watched it again on the plane back from Portugal.
Okay.
Because I was just like, I want to watch a movie. Oh, cool, they have Elemental. I'm going to watch Elemental again. And I watched it again from start to finish. I'm like, this is so good. This is everything good that I want from this kind of movie. And originally when I had first watched it, I was like, yeah, it's probably a pretty like solid 80, and I actually wound up an 8.5 after the second viewing. And it does follow that Pixar formula that I've talked about before, which is like, what if blank had feelings? It does follow that formula, but it does that in all like the best ways by having what is an engaging story that does have some content that I think is interesting for adults and is interesting for like if you've had the experience of being an immigrant family in a new, like, this is not, of course, like, Elemental's not like rewriting the narrative about what it is to be an immigrant family, but the conversation about what it is to be an immigrant family is in that movie. The social commentary is not as on point or maybe even as valuable as it was in, like, say, Zootopia. You're also comparing it against, like, the best example of that, but still, it's not quite what it was in something like Zootopia. And I do think they kind of fumble their metaphor a little bit by including it in, like a Romeo and Juliet style, like 14 lines, 2 kisses love story. But, like, the love story between Ember and Wade, especially the second time, like, really, really resonated with me, even though it was quick. Like, I mean, it's quick. It's a kids movie. It's not like it's not like a fully fleshed out love story, but it's also not like you're the main girl character. We're in love now. Like, it's not one of, it's not that, like, there's nuance and there's a lot more to it than that. But it does happen in a relatively short time frame. But I don't watch movies a third time if I don't love them, right? Like, I just don't. And, like, especially if it's of my own volition. And as soon as I saw that it was an option, I was like, oh, that's the one I want to watch for sure. So it definitely stuck with me, and it's going to land at number 10. I
already voiced my concerns, criticisms of Pixar in this movie. I'm not going to do that here. I just want this positivity to just live. I will add, I thought they were adorable.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's my positive contribution, because I love that you love this movie. I really legitimately do. And I'm just leaving it at that.
And that main song, Steal the Show, is, like, I think one of the best Pixar songs I've ever heard.
Yeah. So my number 9 is Soulmate, a South Korean drama.
Wow, you were loving South Korea.
I love South Korea, man. Like, Past Lives has that, obviously, that South Korean element to it. And Past Lives ain't even the best South Korean drama, because this is. Okay, I'll just read the premise. It's a coming-of-age story where 2 friends first meet at 11 years old and spend the course of 14 years remaining close and sharing experience in both friendship and romance. Not really that, like, intriguing. Like, it's a drama. I mean, it's not going to be like, you know. But I'm just going to read my review to start this off. I don't know that it's good. I'm just going to read it. This movie was built to make me cry. You have 2 excellent lead performances that are so good that I could never separate them and decide which one was better, echoing the movie where even if they are apart, they aren't separate. Because, like, they kind of drift, you know? It's a friendship. You drift over the years.
Of course.
You have sad piano music layered on top of much of it, and some Joplin. A brilliant script that isn't a thriller, but has enough twists within their lives to be one, sort of, while providing a lot of food for thought and emotional oomph. There's some excellent use of metaphor, too. It's a beautiful drama. I can't remember the actress's name. I have it, but I'm not going to bother looking it up. The 2 main actresses, I considered putting them in the best actresses and breaking the awards.
Right.
I had them until Thomas and Mackenzie. And I took them out, not because they don't deserve it, because they certainly deserve the top. I think they had them at number 3.
Mm-hmm.
They certainly deserve it. But here's the thing. I don't go out of my way to break the awards in that, and I don't want it to be a tradition.
Right.
Where I'm like, I'm going to break the People Awards again. And if it happens, it happens, and I don't regret it. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to take them out because I don't really feel like breaking it this year.
And then when it happens, it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were in there because their chemistry and their performances are so good, and this movie is so emotional. And obviously fewer people saw it than Past Lives, but I don't know, man. This one really got to me. And I'll just leave it at that because I know you haven't seen it, so we'll just leave it at that. Just another really, really good drama. Yeah, when a drama hits, it hits hard, you know? And this one definitely hit hard. This one could be higher in the list. The problem is, my top, I don't know, 5 or 6 was so damn hard to decide. And I'll get into that as we get closer, or when we get to it. But yeah, Soulmate is my number 9 best movie of the year. South Korea, holding it down.
2023, the year of South Korea, and everyone can get it. But man, South Korea is representing this year. That's awesome.
You know, and they will. I mean, they have in previous years too, a couple movies, and they will because now I realize that the industry's so good over there, and South Korea's come on the board not only in movies but in video games are coming on the board more. And I know that I'm just gonna Google multiple times through the years like best South Korea movie, so I know South Korea will show up. And there could have been more. I'm kind of there, and I had some South Korean movies to watch. I was like, Justin won't watch these, so I don't really want to flood my list potentially with movies Justin hasn't seen, right? But so I've limited to the ones that were like, okay, I really deeply.
But see, now that you've brought it to my attention, I'm more
look out for
likely to seek them out. That's awesome.
Cool.
My number 9 best movie of 2023 is Dream Scenario.
Oh, awesome!
Yes,
that's great.
I really dug this.
Awesome.
And this was one of the latter ones. Like, this was when I was really sitting down and saying, like, okay, let's prioritize what the year will be incomplete if I don't see. And Dream Scenario was one of those. And again, like we talked a little bit earlier about how I thought the commentary on cancel culture to a point was a little undercooked until a particular scene, and then I was like, oh, no, never mind. Like, you're dumb, Justin. I'm on board with this now. Nicolas Cage is dynamite in this as this neurotic academic who is obsessed not over the fact that he's in everyone's dreams, but how he's being viewed.
I never get tired of this being brought up.
Right.
It's so funny.
Like, amidst this completely unexplainable phenomenon, what's important to him is what he's doing in the dreams, not what the dreams are. Yeah. Or, even just the sheer fact that he's there. He's desperate to know, what his role is in it. It's a fascinating exploration of fame in the digital age. Yeah. And actually someone in one of their reviews used the term micro-celebrity, and I loved that. And I think it's a movie that the more cartoony it gets, the better, because it still keeps these important commentaries happening, but then as it gets a little more cartoony, I'm having more and more and more fun with this, including the absolutely ruthless takedown of viral marketer culture, just a ruthless takedown of this stupid bullshit. Because this is the end of my review, because nothing's more terrifying than Logan Paul inescapably hawking sugar drinks in your dreams. There's nothing more terrifying than that. And again, and you mentioned it when you talked about this too, I love how as time progresses, and this projection of him gets increasingly active in the dreams, increasingly violent and menacing in the dreams. His reaction to that just gets more and more cartoony, and the reaction of other people get more and more cartoony. Somehow it's this poor guy's fault that an astral projection of him in a dream decided to stab you in the brain. He didn't do that. He was asleep in his bed. It was, but the fact that he gets blamed for it, and again, the commentary there on cancel culture and micro celebrity and everything. Really super dug this movie. So Dream Scenario is my number 9.
Yeah, I've said all I need to say about it. It's wonderful. I probably should have placed it higher, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
My number 8 is Scream 6.
Ooh, wow, you really dug this.
Yeah, Scream 6 was awesome.
Excellent.
From the opening moment where it kind of subverts your own expectations and is super meta, and he's like, hey, wait, did they just reveal who Ghostface is? No, they didn't. But I love it. He killed viciously with malice. I like these types of slashers where it adds the extra layer of trying to figure out who it is as opposed to just a ruthless killing machine, which can also be fine. I like trying to, the mystery of who it is, along with the killing, and then obviously this guy, or not guy necessarily, because Ghostface changed it, but Ghostface is a villain where we would probably be Ghostface, because what's your favorite scary movie? You know, it's like a movie-based
It's
killer,
true.
right?
It's true.
But, yeah, it's... Scream 6 is really just a wonderful slasher flick. I guess it's not like anything super deep to talk about there. Just, it gives you what you want, has a cool soundtrack, and yeah, that's it. Number 8, Scream 6.
And again, like I say, made by people who clearly wanted to make a really good Scream movie and knew what they had to do that. Really like immaculately put together for that type of movie. So no, that's awesome that you love that much. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
My number 8 best movie of 2023 is The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and this is how much I loved this thing. Like, I feel like Andre Overdahl created the perfect type of slow, claustrophobic tone for a movie like this, where the scares, when they eventually come, are earned by how, like, again, slow the pace was and how they built towards the scares that happen, and then as they ramp up, as they get closer to the end of the voyage, and Dracula's becoming stronger as he feeds, and the mystery of the girl that's with them, and like discovering the slow discovery of what they really have on board. There's so many beautiful aspects and stone perfect aspects of how this movie is produced and presented and directed and acted, and how it looks and how it feels. The Last Voyage of the Demeter, one of the movies that I didn't see coming this year, but when it showed up, immaculately put together. So The Last Voyage of the Demeter, my number 8 best movie of 2023.
I wish I could feel as positively about this as you. I don't hate that movie, as I've said. I think that was actually one of the few movies where I saw your rating accidentally.
Oh, did you?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was because maybe I was looking to see if you had seen it, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to watch it, and then I was like, oh, Justin saw it, then I accidentally saw the score. And I was like, well, he liked it.
You liked this a lot.
I guess I'm going to watch it. I didn't read your review, I just saw the score by accident. Because that happens a few times through the year. Because there are times where I'm just like, I don't know if I really want to see this, but if Justin has seen it, I'll watch it.
The one thing that I do kind of worry about with the movie is that they're going to sequel it out.
Oh, yeah.
That's my one kind of fear. Like, I'd be good to see this one more time.
Yeah.
And then, like, kind of take it on a month, like, put it on a month to month. So if the second one's really good, then maybe I might want to see a third one. But, like, I'm just scared that the plan is, like, no, it's 5 more movies. And it's like, oh, God, here we go.
Yeah, we don't need that.
No.
All right, my number 7 is The Child. Going back to South Korea.
Okie dokie.
The summary of this, it's funny how this is written. The child will focus on a man born to a Korean father and a Filipino mother who aspires to be a boxer. He travels to the Philippines in the hopes of tracking down his father. In the process, he gets mixed up with some bad people, and one of those bad people is a professional killer who is really cool. And who keeps helping him and stuff, but it's weird. And the main character is like kind of sympathetic, but kind of along for the ride, like just over his head. I heard of this because the director, so South Korean names confuse me. I don't know if it's Hoon Jung Park or Park Hoon Jung. He directed Night in Paradise, a movie that was in my top 10 a couple years ago that I thought had this amazingly cathartic ending scene where this girl shuts the door, locks, and starts just mowing down the criminals that screwed her. And it was awesome. And there's actually a really cathartic scene in this, too, that's not quite as good. I don't think I like this quite as much as Night in Paradise, but I've only seen these 2 movies by this director, and I'm a fan. I'm looking forward to everything he does. Like, from now on, I'm gonna look for his name every once in a while. Like, what's he doing? Just good performances, great choreography when the action happens, solid plot with fun twists, just an all-around joy. That's actually in the award, the thing that made you happy this year. I consider just putting this guy on there, like finding some guy, especially a foreign director, because it's kind of something a little different that you really, really, really dig is a really nice feeling. So hopefully this guy keeps pumping out these movies that I love. Now, I think critical reception was not super high, and I thought maybe I was alone, but I think Rotten Tomatoes at the time was quite high. So I'm like, all right, I'm not totally alone on this. But I don't care. It doesn't matter anyway. I just kind of like looking at that stuff. after I watched a movie just to see where I stand. But yeah, The Child, a wonderful movie, and I think it might be the end of the South Korean movies, although I can't remember my exact list.
Or is it?
I think it is.
Or is it?
I think it is. Or is it?
My number 7 best movie of 2023 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I dug Guardians Volume 3, obviously a whole big bunch. And if this is the end of the road for some of these Guardians, which it appears that it probably is, it's been an absolute pleasure, obviously, watching these 3 movies. And I think the emotional content that you get in Guardians movies is some of the highest across the genre of superhero movies, crescendoing in Volume 3 that I think has probably the biggest emotional content outside of, like, Infinity War and Endgame. James Gunn's departure, obviously, from the MCU is going to be felt.
Yeah. Big time.
Big time. Like, you see the... Again, I mentioned, interestingly enough, I mentioned body horror elements in other movies, but obviously the body horror elements that are in this one, and that's almost like a calling card of James Gunn's that's going to be missed. You can replicate it, but you can't really do it the same way. Yeah. And once again, it's not on the level of like a Sam Raimi or something like that, but it's still there, and it's still like a signature of a creative force that's, you know, no longer part of your kind of part of your stable. I remember having problems with it, but at this point, especially with like the big ticket MCU movies, if the problems aren't critical, I don't really care. Like,
they kind of just fade away in time.
Right? They really do.
It's like, you just kind of remember how great the movie is, and it's like, I don't even...
Right, like, I know I had several problems, like, several minor problems with this. I don't have a hope in hell of remembering what any of them are, because I just enjoyed this movie so much. So, that's about all I've got to say about it, really. Like, I mean, if you're watching this, you know you've watched this movie already, so it's like, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is my number 7 best movie of 2023.
Alright, so before I launch into my number 6, you gotta know something. From 6 to 2... Well, actually, I've rewatched all of these movies from 6 to 1, except for 1. I didn't really need to. But this year, it was so difficult for me to pick my one that I was like, I'm gonna have to give this massive bunch of movies all rewatches to try to, like, sort out my feelings, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the top of this year. There might not have been a better year for me in terms of that. Like, wow, this movie could be one, this movie could be one, this movie... But I gotta decide. So I rewatched all of these except for the one movie, my next pick. I didn't rewatch, I didn't need to. But a clear one did emerge from that. So that's why I say 6 to 2, you could shuffle any of these. Alright, so number 6. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Made me feel good. Real good. I don't know what I could say that he hasn't said. It's funny, you said that. I don't know how much... I don't think you talked about the animation. I'll do that. The animation, it's like Spider-Verse. And I acknowledge that Spider-Verse's animation is slightly better. But it's that style. Mm. You give me a Ninja Turtles movie looking like this all day. I love it. Yeah, from the moment I first saw the trailer, I just laughed. And then when I saw the movie, I just kept laughing and laughing. And even though I also have problems with Splinter and April especially, I ultimately didn't end up caring too much. Mm. Even though I do think that they could have done a more serious Splinter and it would have been fine because there was still so much comedy. Yeah, this is a great movie. And I know I got a Ninja Turtles bias, so part of that is always going to be, and you do too, but like me more so apparently. That will help it along, but I mean, I don't really know. Like, even on the rewatch, I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't like this quite as much as a couple of the others, sure, I guess, but maybe, I don't know. But I do love this movie, so I'll just keep it at that. Number 6 is Ninja Turtles.
My number 6 best movie of 2023 is Dumb Money.
That's hot.
I loved this movie in a big bad way. Between Dumb Money and another movie, it was a pretty darn good year for like these irreverent tech bro biopics, basically. So again, this is the story of Roaring Kitty and the GameStop stonks during the early days of the pandemic. So you have this baffling time juxtaposed against the background of this even more baffling time. and like the way this, and like sometimes great movies like this do this, like intersplicing in like the actual news, like actual news stories and clips of the time with ones that clearly they've just made in order to serve kind of their narrative purpose. And I think here they did that really, really well. Paul Dano is obviously so fantastic in just about everything that he's in. Insulated with a really talented cast here. Seth Rogen is in this. Pete Davidson is in this. Like, there's insulated with, and actually his wife is Shailene Woodley.
Yeah.
And so, like, just insulated with a really, really talented cast. A super, super good soundtrack. The soundtrack to this movie is incredible. And it's all like licensed songs and kind of from that time a little bit earlier, and it's so fantastic. But it's another one of these movies where it's like, it's not perfectly historically accurate to this thing and whatever, and it's like, I don't care. If the movie's super entertaining, I don't 100%, unless it's something I'm like really passionate about, with like the example being like the Iron Claw. Like that in that instance it mattered to me.
Right.
But something like this, I just want a super entertaining story, and if you give me that, if you gotta fudge some facts here and there to make that work for your narrative, I don't care. Like if it makes for a super entertaining finished product, doesn't really matter to me. I loved every second of Dumb Money. I saw it twice in theaters, I believe. It's an 8.5 out of 10, and it's my number 6. And a movie like this is about the energy and the entertainment without feeling like phony.
Yeah.
And this doesn't feel phony to me in the least. But I think you may have a question for your boys.
Well, it's like I'll make some comments, then a question, and then that's it. Then we'll call it a day.
And we're done. We're out of here.
I'd say some stuff here. You could criticize the movie for what it leaves out, but sometimes art is about the feeling, and this spurs the eat the rich sentiment admirably. Yeah. Oh, wow, I said some musical choices are lacking. I don't know what those are. But it has a good cast, funny moments, never boring. What I do want to ask you, is this comparable quality-wise to The Big Short for you?
Ooh. See, this is a movie, that's a great question.
Thanks.
This is a movie that is like really, obviously, for obvious reasons, very comparable with The Big Short. I like The Big Short better, I think, even though I've rated this one higher.
Oh, yeah. Because
The Big Short, I did dirty and only rated it like an 80. I'll have to sort of see how this ages, but it's interesting to see, like, because it's a very similar story of, like, hedge fund managers screwing everybody and then kind of getting their comeuppance.
Yeah.
And I dig the cast in that movie a little bit more, because my God, all the talent in that movie is amazing, even though there's a lot of amazing talent in this one as well. But that's a really good comparison. That's a really good question.
Yeah,
I like that.
In my review, I said it's like The Big Short, but less witty. But I mean, most movies, pretty much every movie of this type is less witty than The Big Short. So
exactly.
I don't really care a ton about the accuracy, like you were talking a bit ago about that, because it is ultimately fiction.
Yeah.
One of the only times I really care about accuracy, but it doesn't ruin a movie if it's not accurate. It's like I get bothered when stuff with bunnies isn't accurate.
Right.
Which leads me into my number 5, the Velveteen Rabbit.
Ooh, okay.
This 40-minute children's movie that I'm going to start off by reading my review.
Top 5 of the year.
I don't give a shit.
Let's do it.
That's what I do. I have a rabbit bias, and there's a lot here that reminds me of my own childhood. But even outside of that, what a beautiful kids movie. explores unconditional love in a mature way that's still digestible for children without shying away from the painful truths of life, the hellos and goodbyes and what that entails. When Rabbit comes back as a real rabbit and sees William, I lost it. Very emotional. 40 minutes of greatness and one of the finer examples of a kid's movie in recent years. Like, where the wild things are a level... And I know I'm alone in this. I understand. I don't even have, like, an attachment to the Velveteen Rabbit, like, property. Like, I don't, you know. So the scene I was talking about, like, earlier in the movie, William... They move, the family moves them, and William wants to go. He hears kids playing on the opposite side of like the bushes and stuff, and he wants to go say hi, but he's like, no, I'm not going to do that, right? Because I'm shy and scared. And he starts having these stuffed animals to go to bed with, right? So then he gets a rabbit for Christmas, so that's like his new thing, and he starts like playing with it, and there's actually cool parts where he like goes in his fort in the blanket with the rabbit, and it turns into like an animated thing. And it's funny because I go in a fort with my rabbit. I make a fort for him, so because he really likes playing in it. So that was like kind of funny. But like, there's like this cool animated thing, and I'm going on like an adventure in his imagination and stuff, right? Which is like super inspired and neat. And anyway, I'm telling you this because he gets sick, and it's not the first time that's happened. And then the other toys are talking to the rabbit toy, you know, when, you know, William's not there and they're in the playroom or whatever, and they're like, last time this happened, they burnt every toy that he touched because of the sickness, right? So William still wanted a toy, but Rabbit still went, even knowing that. He still went to go be with this kid who he loves, right? So then Rabbit gets taken out, even though the kid didn't want him to. But the parents take him out, put him out in the woods or something. I can't remember what. And it's like, it's a magical being. I can't remember I can't remember if it's like a fairy or something. Which is basically like, because you showed unconditional love, we're going to make you a real rabbit. And like earlier, he was kind of rejected by real rabbits. So like, you're not a real rabbit, you're just a toy, right?
Yeah.
So this is all important, and I'm getting to it. So then, at the end of the movie, it skips ahead to another Christmas. He's playing with this like plain toy, and he's just not feeling it. He's just like, whatever, right? Because he wants rabbit. You know, he misses his rabbit. And he sees 3 rabbits, the 2 from earlier and this new one. And as soon as I see it, I'm like, "There's Rabbit. That's Rabbit, right?" and it's just like. It makes a gesture to him and stuff, and they say goodbye, and like the rabbit goes off to be with the other rabbits with his own, and the kid goes off and like goes beyond the bushes to be with the kids for the first time and like introduce himself, and it's this beautiful thing of like unconditional love, like I said, but it doesn't shy away from any of the like, this is super sad. Like, that's his friend. Like, if I was a kid, I would be like, no, you get over here. Come on, I'll bring all 3 of you in. You're my buddies now.
Exactly.
But like, I understood what the movie was trying to say. And it annoys me when I hear in the Bambi live action remake, they're saying how they're going to soften it for the kids. I'm like, you don't have to. This is important. This movie didn't soften the fact that, like, this wasn't like a happy ending in the sense, like, they didn't stay together. It's like they went their separate ways, but they had such an impact on each other's lives, right? And they found love and they found their path to be, and maybe it wasn't together, but like the kid will always have the memory of the rabbit and vice versa. And this movie was so emotional. This is gonna make me look like such a wimp, but I just friggin' lost it. This is so sentimental and wonderful, and just like, if this is what kids' movies are, then the kids' movies would be awesome, right? And I get it, you know. Like I said, I know other people probably don't like it as much as me. It's like, wow, you're really fawning over this like kids' movie. Yeah, I am. This movie is great.
Top 5 time, ladies and gentlemen. My number 5 best movie of 2023 is The Holdovers, and I believe we'll have a bit of disagreement on this, if I remember correctly from the director's video yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, I do, but
a little bit.
Not enough to really care.
Right, fair enough. I thought, and again, this is kind of me chewing my food twice, but there's a line in this movie that I absolutely love, and I feel like it sums up the movie exceptionally well. For me, from my experience with it anyway. And the line is, without exercise, the body devours itself. It's what he yells at the kids when he has them out running outside in the freezing cold New England temperatures. Without exercise, the body devours itself. Alexander Payne's movie for me was like an exercise in delight. Like, this movie so took me to my happy place with, like, I wish every movie had a screenplay this good. Like, I felt like this was probably the best screenplay of anything that I saw this year, period. And I wish that movies like this get made for decades and generations to come, because I feel like this is, for me, this is going to be like a new Christmas classic. Like, this is going to be something that I'm going to be able to watch around Christmas time for years and years and years to come. I love the interactions between Paul Giamatti and Dominic Sessa, I believe is his name. Is the one kid that gets left over. Yeah, the one, ultimately the one holdover. But like we mentioned with the best actresses, Divine Joy Randolph, I think, absolutely steals the show. You know, I guess maybe this is just like pandering to my sensibilities as a movie fan, but this is like exactly what I wanted this movie to look like, feel like, exactly the story I wanted it to tell me and the way I wanted it to tell me the story. Again, probably the best screenplay that I saw of anything at all this year. So The Holdovers finishes at number 5.
I say multiple things about this movie in my review. I say it's pure filmmaking. The emotion hits at the end. There are some laughs. I've never loved Giamatti, but also it's undeniable how good he is, especially in roles like this. And this movie, really. But the thing is, I say I don't understand why this is getting so much praise heaped on it, but then that doesn't mean it's bad. Hell, I don't even have any serious issues with it. I guess maybe what this movie was just wasn't connecting with me. Like, that day, maybe. Maybe if I watched it a different day, maybe it would have connected. Maybe it was just my mood. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I gave it a 7 out of 10, which is good. It's good.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to leave it at that. My number 4 is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Nice.
And I didn't realize when I made this list that my 6, 5, and 4 are basically like childhood.
Right.
Like rabbits, Mario, Ninja Turtles. It wasn't intentional. I had this as my movie of the year at mid-years. And it's deserving.
Yeah.
I rewatched it. Like, I rewatched all these. The second time wasn't hitting me as hard. Quite as hard. I still loved it, obviously. What do I say? Animation's great. Music is fantastic. A lot of classics that we know and love. There's a couple licensed music picks that I'm just like, I don't know that you needed this. You could have just had Mario music and it would have been sufficient. The depressed star thing.
Yes.
God, I can't remember what the creature's called. Awesome stuff. Cool action. Mostly great voice acting. I mean, people didn't like Chris Pratt, but I didn't mind. I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy was fantastic. She has such a great voice. I mean, obviously Bowser. Obviously Peaches should win an Oscar. If it doesn't, I'm going to be upset. Or if it's not nominated, I'll definitely be upset.
I hope he at least gets to perform it.
Yeah, something that needs to be coming. That song was a hit. That's the thing. Like, it was. It was legitimately a big deal. Yeah, you talked about how people criticize the plot and stuff. The plot's fine, but the characterization's pretty good, so I didn't really mind. Yeah, I just think this is another kids movie. I'm loving those kids movies.
Hey, man.
Don't edit out the movies part of that. I'm loving the kids. But no, 2 kids movies in a row. That's basically. But this one, I grew up with Mario. You grew up with Mario, like
absolutely
30 years of Mario in my life, essentially. So it's just so nice that this movie made so much money and that it was so good.
Yeah.
I was scared that a Mario movie. I'm like, man, you're picking one of your franchises that has like no story.
Right. I
mean, really, Nintendo movies are kind of like that because it's. I know some people will be like Zelda or whatever, but I mean, I don't know. Are these like Splatoon isn't known for its story? Mario, Zelda maybe more so. Metroid has a story for sure. It's just told mostly more environmentally and stuff. So it's like Nintendo's a weird thing to adapt, I think. Yeah. But they did it well. So good job. And the company behind it, I wasn't like super. It's not like it was like Pixar. I mean, Illumination is good.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't. Hey, we got Pixar or a company that I like the people who made Kubo.
Right. Yeah.
I can't remember their name. Or it's kind of like so whatever. It defied my expectations. It exceeded, I should say.
My number 4 best movie of 2023 is Oppenheimer. I've talked about it in multiple previous videos. Lays bare the technical brilliance of Christopher Nolan. No misses among an incredible cast. Whether it's primary characters, secondary characters, tertiary characters, like there's just this cast is
whatever
so good.
Tertiary,
exactly.
Fourthiary, fiftiary,
quadrary, maybe
ninethiary.
Exactly. Go all the way back the list. It's an immaculately put together movie. It tells an incredible story. Maybe more American families know than, everybody knows about the Manhattan Project, but the full breadth of the story behind it,
right,
I think is, unless you read American Prometheus, then you probably don't have that, unless, because it's like Oppenheimer wasn't taught to us in school.
No.
The wars were,
Yeah.
the Manhattan Project was, or the results of the Manhattan Project at the very least, but about actual Oppenheimer and the development of that stuff is not taught to us in schools in Canada. So getting to experience that story and through the lens of these incredible actors and actresses. I don't really have too much extra to say about it. Obviously I loved Oppenheimer a ton. It's still an 8.5 out of 10, and it is my number 4.
It's nice to see Nolan up so high.
Absolutely.
Once again. That cast is so friggin' deep that I'm sure that, somewhere in there, Brad Pitt is one of the extras.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
If you look close enough, hey, isn't that, that movie... Man, I don't know the last time there was a cast that was so friggin' deep. I don't know which actor it was. He or she said, I was offered a role in Oppenheimer, and I didn't care what it was, I just took it.
Yeah.
That's the prestige of this movie and Nolan. So that's really all I have to add. I've already talked with this movie and talked gleefully about how I'm glad that I really liked a Nolan movie again. Cause it felt kind of weird not really liking a Nolan movie.
Totally.
So good pick. My number 3 is Creed 3.
Ooh.
This one benefited so much from a rewatch.
Yeah.
Because it was in, there was, my group of, I don't know, 4 or 5 or whatever movies that I wasn't sure, but I knew all had a chance to be number 1. And then second tier was Creed 3. And one night I'm just I feel like watching Creed 3 again. And I did. And I'm okay, so now this is in the bunch? I'm great. I just complicated matters for myself even more.
And it just grows a little more.
This movie... Well, it could have been number 1, but I'm really happy with my number 1. But this movie could have been number 1, but I gotta be honest, and maybe this is just me. This is the only original point I have to make about this that we haven't already talked about. I do feel the lack of Rocky a little bit. I know that's just me, but I feel like there's scenes where it would have been nice to just kind of have Rocky in there,
And the fact that we haven't gotten closure on the character.
Yeah.
He's just not there. If they want to have a scene where they're at Rocky's tombstone and really okay, that at least gives us some closure on the Rocky character.
Yeah.
If he's never going to be in anything else.
And I know that they want to make Creed, well, they have made Creed because there's 3 movies of his own thing, but you had Rocky in both, and I don't know, it just... And the reasons why he wasn't in it was just kind of weird, and there's talk of him maybe being in the 4th one, so it's... I came out of the movie this is obviously a really great movie. Maybe the best Creed, really, in terms of, in a lot of ways. Even beating, Coogler, who's fantastic, because there were shots of this, I'm wow. But just the lack of Rocky kept me from being as in love with it.
Yeah.
And that might change in time, honestly. But yeah, number 3 is Creed 3.
Not surprising in the least that it's high on your list. Maybe a little surprising that it's this high, because I kind of had an inkling, because I think we may have talked about it before. I had an inkling that you kind of had that, the fact that there's a shocking lack of Rocky in that movie was kind of a matzo ball that was kind of hanging over us and hanging over the movie. And I kind of thought that maybe that might be enough that it ratchets this down, but like you say, where you watched it a second
the
time,
rewatch got it. Otherwise, it would have been like 6, 7, or whatever. The rewatch got it,
which is about where I thought it would land for me. Yeah, I figured somewhere.
Well, had
6,
I not
7.
rewatched it, you would have been right. Right.
My number 3 best movie of 2023 is the little Canadian movie that could, Blackberry.
There it is.
There we go.
That was one I was just wondering.
Was it? That literally, all right.
But I forgot that you were on 3 and not 2.
Yeah, Blackberry, man. Jay Baruchel has never been better. Matt Johnson pulling triple duty as writer, director, and co-star. Glenn Howerton with the immaculate, I've used that word a lot in the last couple, but just this incredible interpretation of Jim Balsillie as basically like this evil, corrupt little businessman who is just singularly focused on bringing hockey to Hamilton. and that doesn't matter to anybody that's not in Canada.
Yeah.
But basically, he kept trying to buy the Pittsburgh Penguins and move them to Canada. I just have to get the story out of the way. So the idea here is that he wanted to buy the Pittsburgh Penguins with the idea that the NHL believed that he would keep the Penguins in Pittsburgh.
Right.
But behind their back, he had already negotiated an arena deal in Hamilton. And then he goes to a meeting where he thinks he's going to sign the papers to buy the team. Yeah. And they're just like, we know you have an arena deal in Hamilton. We're not letting you buy the team and move them. And he flips it. But just like this, the portrayal of like Jim Balsillie as like this like cretin. It's just like he's so evil, and it's incredible. Just an incredibly well crafted comedy biopic that ties into something that we talked about before, where it's like sometimes the facts come second.
Yeah.
But when it creates something this entertaining and this well put together and just this interesting to watch, that's okay. Like, I'm okay with certain things not being perfectly accurate. And I described this as a Canadian, The Social Network, and that line was good enough that it got me in the Criticker top 20 most loved movies of the year. This was an entry on there.
Honestly.
What's that?
It's a great line.
It is. It's not bad. And it's a compelling and kinetic story that I saw 3 times in theaters because I loved it so much.
Ooh.
Blackberry, my number 3 best movie of 2023.
Yeah, it's kind of astonishing how good this is. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Very good on my scale. Better than Dumb Money. I agree with your placing it higher. Not much higher, but higher. I think Blackberry was much better. Not much better, because I guess I gave Dumb Money a 7. But
right.
I don't think I read my review. I'll just say Howerton and Baruchel were both great. I actually consider both of them for best actors, but I couldn't make. I was like, I don't know which one, so I just kind of cut
It's
them.
another instance where like the two of them together.
Yeah.
And even like them and Matt Johnstone as a trio kind of thing. But
Yeah, so I cut them out.
Yeah.
Of the consideration for best actors. There's a lot of kinetic energy in here that makes the experience more exciting than it would have otherwise been. I didn't see a trailer or anything, so the way the film was shot was unexpected and more intimate, while also being completely in service of the chaos.
Yes.
If you're on the fence about this, given that it's about the Blackberry, just watch it. It's fun. Love the soundtrack too. Anything with Slint and Matt Good is fine by me. I can't even remember if I put this honorable mention. I did really like it. Just I only have so many movies.
Yeah.
And maybe it didn't. If it didn't make it on my honorable mentions, the thing is like I limit my honorable mentions because I don't want to ruin too much.
Right.
I could have had 15, 20.
Totally.
And I would have been on it if it wasn't. Yeah, that's a great pick. Yeah, we'll just move on to mine.
Sweet.
My number 2, right?
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I rewatched this on my vacation one time. I actually watched Infinity War and Endgame, and then I was just kind of there, like, seeing Rock, and I was like, let's watch Guardians 3. Even though I came out of that movie the first time being, I'm never watching this shit again. Because
I remember this.
Because it hurt me too much.
I can't do this.
Yeah, I can't do this again. It hurt me. It hurt. It still hurts. Velveteen Rabbit might be more emotional in a certain way, in a beautiful way. This just hurts. I can't. Oh man. But you know what? I don't want to even talk about that.
Be okay.
I don't want to even talk about the sadness of this movie. It is so sad. Let's talk about the directing. I consider James Gunn for best director, or like in there too.
Yep.
Like, I seriously consider him because it's like, wow, he stepped it up too. Like just directing from the opening moment, really. Obviously the music is great. Although I don't know if I like it as much as like say the first Guardians in terms of music, but that really comes down to the songs you like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're all licensed songs, you know? And,
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
it's just kind of like, do you like this song? Yeah, then you'll think the soundtrack's great. This is the best MCU movie since Endgame. And I think most people agree, if I'm being like completely honest, maybe Spider-Man. Like, that's in consideration. This is... If the MCU was still like this, just across the board, then people wouldn't hate it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because this movie is fantastic. And you know what? I'm gonna leave it at that. I will never watch this one again. I might do Guardians 1 again, but I just can't. And it's not even because it's like, I probably still like the first Guardians more because I just like the humor and I like the feel of it. So I probably still like the first one more, but this just might be the better movie, honestly.
And I loved the villain in Guardians 3.
Oh yeah,
well.
right, yeah. The
Just
villain's great.
like in a genre that struggles with villains that can be kind of feckless or just kind of somewhat uninteresting. I thought this one had one that was really great.
And there was screw it, I'm talking about the sadness. There was scenes in this that I'd forgot too. Like there's obviously the ones that live in the head where like his friends get shot. That's just like I can't forget it. I can't get it out of my head. But even just like a line that I forgot, that when he comes back and they ask him how he's doing and he goes, hurts. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, God, no. I forgot that this line was in there.
I just want to scratch you on the head and tell you it's going to be okay.
Yeah, so it's good that the villain gets this, because I don't know, man. Like Thanos destroyed half the universe, and I think I hate this guy more. But it sucks that he doesn't kill him at the end. I understand thematically why he doesn't, but I'm kind of like, just put a bullet in his head, please. Like some people just come on.
Don't be the bigger raccoon.
There's actually one thing point I want to make. Because I think it's one of the cooler. Maybe I'm giving myself too much credit. It's one of the cooler points I make, I think. So there's a scene later on when he's having I don't know if it's like a dream sequence or something. When oh my God, who's his one friend? Not Floor, not Lila. So like Lila shows up in this like it's like I think it's like all white or whatever. You know what I'm talking about that scene.
Absolutely.
And she's like, "It's your story. It always has been." And I was like, obviously they mean this movie because he's in control of his own life, right?
Yep.
But then I thought, the Guardians trilogy has been Rocket's story the whole time. Like obviously Peter Quill is super important to this, but Rocket has been the heart.
Yeah.
And that became more evident in the second one. But then it really hammered that home, and I don't know.
Blatantly obvious in the third one.
I don't know that Gunn meant it like this line like this. Maybe he did, but I thought of that and I thought it's been Rocket's story all along through this whole trilogy.
So right now, I'm very excited. I'm in a very excited place right now.
I'm not.
Even though we're sad because like the movie awards are coming to an end for this year or for this next 6 months. Before we're right back here, but I'm very excited because one element that we didn't really play up is the fact that, and if you've been a long-time movie awards viewer, you know this. Before the awards, we try to predict each other's number one, and I'm very excited because there's only 3 movies left to talk about. I have 2 and he has 1. And our number ones are both still on the board.
Yeah, that never happens.
It's absolute utter insanity. With that said,
Your number 2.
my number 2 best movie of 2023 is John Wick Chapter 4.
No way. There's no. Okay, go on.
So,
go on. Just talk about John Wick.
Let's talk about John Wick. This big, stylish action movie where he does this a lot and somehow doesn't die from bullets, and I love it.
I love that they have those super jackets though.
Yes. Oh yeah.
It's such a neat little thing.
It's such a cool idea.
And gives a good. Sorry, I'm cutting you. I'm sorry.
No
for
worries.
cutting you off. It gives a good excuse for why this guy can be in 8 million fights and not get shot because he's got the.
Where there's so much gunplay.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to be like, we want to make a series with a ton of gunplay where our guy doesn't die, and how can we do that without it just being plot armor and they always miss?
Yeah, right.
Because they don't always miss. They hit him a lot.
Yeah. Without the jacket, he'd be dead.
Without his jacket, this is not a 4-movie series.
Yeah.
He's dead in the first one.
Yeah, I really love that.
So I love that they figured out such an interesting way to have that happen. And look, this has been 4 movies now of John Wick just getting the crap beaten out of him, and shot 1,001 times, and we absolutely love it. Like I say, big stylish violence and action, continuation of the story and lore, and I'm more so coming out of this one. I'm more interested in the lore of this universe than I was coming out of any of the other ones.
Right.
Like, I actually want to know more about the lore of the John Wick universe. Again, the trademark being the absolutely wild, almost baffling ways in which Wick doesn't get killed at close range, which is great. And again, I say in my review, that's dialed up to 11, but it's such a feature that I can't criticize. It's not a criticism, it's a feature. Yeah. And again, the top-down shooter sequence, I've gushed about it enough when I gave Chad Stahelski a nod with Best Directing. It's such a complete movie, and again, I can give this the same credit almost that I gave to Scream when I talked about, like, you're 6 features deep and this shouldn't be this good.
Yeah.
John Wick, you're 4 features deep. This probably shouldn't still be this good.
Right.
And if anything, this series is only getting better. So, John Wick Chapter 4, my number 2.
The lore I want to talk about.
Yep.
I don't understand the lore.
I don't either. I'm just very
there's things
interested
in this movie where I'm like, I don't know why this is a thing, but also, like, who cares? Because he took the time to kind of just make some lore. It's in the real world, but there's, like, an actual society going on here. Mm-hmm. And the reason and one of the other reasons why I don't really care and why it's interesting that I don't understand it is because I watched this movie 3 times because it's my number 1. I watched it 3 times. I rewatched it as I did the group of movies, and it became clear that this is my favorite on the second watch. I was like, oh. Then, like, I was sitting there after I'd watched it maybe the next day, and I thought, should I rewatch John Wick? I didn't. I was like, Tyler, there's a better use of your time. Just hold off. But I did rewatch it again. I don't remember when. Mm-hmm. And I rewatched it. I'm like, this is the best movie of the year. Also because it's the best John Wick movie. And I had said about the trilogy at the retrospective. And this is where a single John Wick movie becomes better than the Kingsman. Because I think it's the best action movie ever made, period.
Wow. Yeah.
I absolutely adore John Wick Chapter 4 in a way that I don't know that I have any action movie, because, like, I might have rewatched Kingsman actually maybe once. I can't remember now, it's so long ago. I don't rewatch, like, pure action movies. As much as I love them,
yeah,
I watch them, I go, yeah, and then I go on with my life.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, that was awesome.
That was
and
fun.
I might gush about it or whatever to somebody.
See ya.
I'm not like, let's rewatch.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't rewatched Die Hard as much as I love that movie.
Yeah.
I rewatch superhero movies, but that's all superhero, not pure action. I barely rewatch pure action movies. And I kind of want to watch this again. And I will. To be honest, I'm going to at some point.
Right.
there's so many great scenes, and every little bit of this movie is so thought out, and the other John Wicks were too. So a lot of what I'm saying applies to the other John Wicks. Just he did it better. The scene where the one guy's, like, his one friend's daughter is helping him. She has, like, the bow or whatever. And he's, like, trying to shoot the guys because they're heavily armored. And he's, like, trying to shoot them, and it's like ding, 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 ding. And then, like, the guy goes and kicks John Wick, but as the guy's leg is in the air, she shoots an arrow, and he's, like, his leg goes into the wall. Yeah. And then John Wick shoots him, and he just kind of flops over his leg still. Or, like, just people rolling down, like, where the stairs was, and he's like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm just, these little things that he puts into the action make it stand out so much. And it's great because I've seen it 3 times, and I keep noticing these just little details, right? And I'm gonna... You talked about the top-down scene, which is masterful, just 10 out of 10, right? But on my first rewatch, I noticed a scene that I might enjoy as much. Not on a visual level, but the marriage of the music and the action / visuals. Because, like, the visual level, obviously, the top-down one, the way it slowly drifts down and becomes a video game is, like... maybe the best directed moment of the year. I don't even know if it's maybe. I think it is. I don't know how much you remember this. When there's the big hit is put on him. I know the hit's been on him for a while, but when he really ups it near the end because he doesn't want him to get to the duel. He walks up onto the streets, and people are watching him, and he's like, oh crap, right? And he's kind of walking, and then there's this cover of Painted Black, a French cover. That plays, which is an amazing cover. And then he starts fighting, and the car comes, and he gets hit on the car, and he's on the car, and he's like doing this, and then ding, 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 and then he shoots him in the car. And that whole sequence, I have watched that sequence, just that sequence, because sometimes I'll just be sitting there and I'll just turn it on. I've watched that a whole bunch of times.
Wow.
And, like, I didn't notice that scene as much the first time I watched it, but the second time I was like, this scene, I might enjoy this scene more than the top-down scene, but then that's also like picking your children, because you could sit here all day and pick any of the scenes. Like, the moment that the bad guys, frig, I've seen this movie 3 times, I can't remember terms, but they walk into, like, his Asian friend there's where he goes to see him, right? Yeah. And they walk in, and there's and they all come up, and they're like this, and the lights go low. Yeah. And I'm like, why is this action movie so beautiful? Like, I don't understand, Chad. Like,
what are you doing, man?
It's like, you know that you don't have to make this arguably the prettiest movie of the year to make it effective, right? But you did. This pick gave me great grief, though. I will say this. Because I enjoy the surprise of the number one. Because it's the only satisfaction I get by the end, because now it's just kind of like, oh man, it's almost over.
Right.
But when I get a Terrifier 2 moment, we get a Wolfwalkers moment.
Yeah.
We get the wow. And I was there, and I was just like, I can't pick a different movie to be surprising.
Right.
And then when you're like, I predict John Wick, I'm just kind of like, yeah.
So I did get the prediction correct.
He did get the prediction correct. What makes this great
is that he also got the prediction correct, because he predicted my number one movie was going to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and it is.
Worst movie consensus, number 1. Best movie consensus for number 1.
Yes. Yeah.
Never will be done again.
Nope.
That's actually really beautiful.
And never, ever, ever will ever be done again.
Maybe not as insane as last year with the Batman and all that other stuff.
Right.
That was just insane. But, like, from a storytelling perspective, this is just, like, really solid storytelling of the movie award.
It is. It's this goes into movie awards lore that, like, for us to correctly predict each other's number ones in the same year is just...
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing that makes a John Wick pick, like, more exciting for me is like, wow.
Right.
Like, wow.
And I saw the, and we had to power through it, but I saw the moment of realization in your face when you realized that we had done it.
Well, as soon as you're like, John Wick at number 2, and I'm like, yeah, we did it.
We did it. We did it.
I was scared. We were at 3, and I'm like, okay, Blackberry. I'm like, we got John Wick and Spider-Man for Justin left.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's he gonna do?
Right, you're like,
and
okay,
I knew John Wick was your number 1
right?
at the mid-year.
It was.
So I was like,
So Spider-Verse is like, I've used this term for a couple of movies over the years. Spider-Verse is almost embarrassingly flawless.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right? Like, any criticism that I have against this movie is so limp that, like, it's barely worth even mentioning. One thing that I will say is I think there's almost too much visually going on in the background.
Oh, yeah?
Because, like, the background changes, and again, all of this is beautiful. Like, all of it's incredible. But, like, it's like the background art will, like, change between camera angles.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, between shots. Like, they're not even, like, it's two people having a conversation, and the angles will change, but the backgrounds are always different. And it's super cool, but it's like, wow, there's so much going on here that I think you have to watch the movie 3 or 4 times to fully appreciate everything visually that's going on in the background. Like, I recall the one scene where Spider-Gwen's father, and it's early in the movie, when he comes to the realization that she's the female Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they're having that moment. And there's a lot of that back and forth camera cutting, and the backgrounds are always different, and I'm like, I want to pay attention to the sentimentality of this scene, but, like, really pretty. Like, because all of this is happening. And again, that's a feature, not really a criticism, but at the same time, it's like, I'm gonna have to watch this movie so many times.
Okay, one thing I want to ask you about that, because to be honest, I don't think I noticed that, because I only saw it the once. Does something like that with the background, what do you think the importance of the shifting backgrounds is? Does it reflect, like,
I think it's reflecting the character's moods. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because
I didn't notice, because I would need to rewatch it too.
Yeah. Because, like, you can even tell, like, when when in that particular scene, every time it cuts to the father, the background's darker.
Okay.
It's always, like, it's, like, the color scheme is kind of the same, but, like, it's getting darker and darker and darker, because that's his dread.
That's inspired visual storytelling.
Incredible. It's so, and it's not like, oh my god, no one else would ever think of that. But when it's executed so incredibly, that's when it really matters the most, and that's exactly what we get in this. My fear is that may have actually lost some viewers, because there's just so much going on that it's just like, all right, I'm just gonna focus on this, and it's like, yeah, but you're missing all of this. You're missing all the other incredibleness that's happening. Everything that the first Miles Morales Spider-Man movie was, this one is, and better.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I think every aspect of it. And again, I mentioned this earlier, I had forgotten that this was a part 1. So, like you, I'm thinking, like, man, we're like 2 hours and 15 minutes into this thing, but they've just hit a point in the story where they reveal, like his uncle, and you're coming to the slow realization that he's in the wrong universe. And then as it comes to that, I'm like, you've just opened a whole nother can of worms, but we're so deep into this, and then it stops, and I'm like, wait, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, there's gonna be another one. The greatest compliment that I could pay to this movie is if they brought the lights up, and then something came on the screen, and it just said, nah, we ain't done yet, and the lights came back down, and they started playing the next part right away, I would have been like, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
The greatest compliment that I can pay a movie is that after 2 hours, I wanted 2 more hours.
Right. That was like me with John Wick.
Yeah, like I immediately wanted the next one to start, and I would have been happy as a clam. And so there was no fatigue on this whatsoever, and I cannot wait for the third, and I'm assuming final entry in this, but I cannot wait for the next one. So at a rating of 95 out of 100, which I never give, almost never, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, my number 1, as this guy predicted, and as I correctly predicted, that he had John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah.
So, an incredible turn of events.
Yeah, I actually originally had rated this at 95 as well, so earlier on in the year it was like within the running for best movie, but then I kind of thought about it, I'm like, okay, I don't feel as passionate about this as like some other movies, so we'll drop it down. I just want to say, going back to the animation style, I'm no animation expert. I know it didn't pioneer this style, I'm sure, but like this style of animation is so friggin' good.
Yeah.
But also only certain types of movie can really do it, because if you're gonna have something like this, it really has to be like fast, kinetic.
Yeah.
Like Ninja Turtles did a really good job with it. It's a little bit
Yeah.
of a lesser version of it, but Ninja Turtles did a really good job with it because it kept that mood of just like craziness, right? But you
Yeah.
couldn't just have like some drama in this like. But I really love that this style is getting more popular, but then it's in 5 years I'm probably going to be saying like, okay, can you guys stop?
Right.
Because it's going to be less special.
Yeah, it's this very like hip hop inspired animation style.
Yeah.
I do kind of fear that in, like you say, in 5 years, it's going to be like when the 75th Handycam horror
Yeah.
came out, and it's just like, okay, the first couple were great and inspired and looked awesome, and now you're just
Occasionally a really good one gets sprinkled in there.
now you're
but-
just on the trend.
Yeah,
and so
I hope it doesn't
That does
become
worry me, but hopefully not.
I mean, this animation probably requires a lot of work.
And a lot of
Maybe-
money. These are not cheap to make.
Yeah, so
so
maybe that'll thwart this a little bit.
Right.
So I hope that they keep it special, because if they can keep it to even, I don't know, I could probably handle a movie a year with this. I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna put a thing on it. Then I'd be like completely fine, because it would just be like the next Ninja Turtles movie, obviously gonna have this style. The next Spider-Man, actually just keep it to those two. That'd be great.
even so, like a big AAA like movie in this style every year, yeah, I'd be all for it.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All right, now that we've defeated the top 30, it's time for us to virtually de-pants ourselves. And that's what we'll do to get you out of here. Our special bonus here at the end is we are going to present to you our lists of shame. And that is something that like I put into awards in the past. I just put it like in the YouTube description. Like for a couple of years, and it was like a big long one at that point. I certainly cut it down in the second time I did it. But the list of shame is like the big ones that we didn't get to. Like, look, nobody can watch. This guy watched 200 movies this year. Nobody can watch everything.
204.
There you go, 204. Sorry. Nobody can watch everything. You just can't. So, like, I thought what it was in the interest of proving that nobody's perfect, even though it might look like we are.
Yeah.
These are the ones that we really, really regret, I would say, in almost all cases, that we missed.
Yeah.
So, do you want to present your list first?
So I go through all of them?
Yeah.
All right. So we agreed to kind of have the ones that had the most impact or most importance first.
Yeah.
So I'll list these and just say a little bit. Obviously don't got a ton to say.
Yeah.
Aggro Drift.
Yeah.
I had no choice. It was only at film festivals, and technically it's going to be a cheater for 2024. So I wasn't gonna put it in, but then I put it in because this was the only movie that had a chance of dethroning John Wick.
Right.
Really, like a really serious chance. So I would have liked to have been able to see it this year, but I'll still see it. Doesn't matter. But then the other one who kind of had a chance too was Godzilla -1.
So that's at the top of my list.
Which is probably the biggest one because it's not a cheater for this year, so I have no way to I could watch it technically, but it won't count for anything, whereas Aggro Drift will. It's really maybe my biggest shame ever in any year, really, because I really wanted to see that one, and if we lived in a better place, I could have. The Boy in the Heron.
Boy in the Heron's on mine as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Miyazaki movie, so it would have been really nice to see that. How Can I Help You? It's a short film starring Thomas and Mackenzie.
Oh.
And I would have liked to see it on that. This I forgot until the Fan's Choice, the first Slam Dunk, would have been really nice to see.
Yeah.
But now we're kind of in the ones where I'm like, I don't necessarily care that I see it, but it would have been nice to see that. Divinity was a neat-looking sci-fi movie that became available a while back, and I could have watched it, but I was so deep in the year, I'm just like, I don't need to see it.
Fatigue had set in at that point.
Poor Things.
Poor Things is on
nice
mine
to
as well.
see.
Yeah.
I think this next one I got 3 more. This actually might be able to be a cheater for this coming year, I'm not sure, but there's this movie called Cobweb. There's a horror movie that was released, but that's not the one. There's a South Korean experimental drama.
Ooh.
And it might qualify for a cheater, I'm not sure, I have to really look through. Then there's American Fiction, would have been nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I write here that it may get to qualify as a cheater, but it's also kind of a weird one, so I might not pursue it. Because some movies just feel weird, even if you can technically say it's a cheater. This one would feel weird. And the last one, it's probably shameful because it's so well regarded, but Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, Anatomy of a Fall's on mine as well.
I kind of asked him if he planned on watching, and he said no, so I didn't bother. I know it's well regarded, and I probably would have liked it, and that is my list of shame.
List of shame, fair enough. So we move on to mine. My list is 10, but you picked up, I think, 4 of them. So like Godzilla -1 is right at the top of the list. And if I would have had an opportunity, here's how deep I would have gone with this. If there would have been somebody yesterday that after we finished recording yesterday, that was like, hey Justin, I'm gonna go into Halifax and go see Godzilla -1 at like 9 o'clock. Do you want to go? I said yes. As a matter of fact, let me call Tyler. That's the extent that I would have gone to.
That movie could have been movie of the year. I don't know that it would have been.
I don't know that it would have been.
Because like Spider-Man and like John Wick, I'm out here declaring it as the best action movie ever. I don't know that it would have won, but I think it would have been top 5 easily.
Yeah. Anatomy of a Fall was number 2. Poor Things was number 3, and The Boy and the Heron was number 4. So I mean, you grabbed my top 4 there and ones that were on yours, which makes perfect sense because we are very similar. Like the stuff that interests us there's a lot of crossover there, obviously. Sure. The Zone of Interest.
Yeah, but is that potentially a cheater though? I feel like that might be.
It might be. We'll
look into that.
Yeah,
look into that because you might still get to see it and count it. I'm not sure though.
And interestingly enough, there were 2 movies this year, like mainstream North American releases, both named Sanctuary.
I don't know that I know any of these. No,
so one of them was about a young boy coming up in the ranks of sumo wrestling.
No, I didn't hear that.
And he's like,
what?
He's like the outsider of the sumo community. He's like, and I'm like, I hear that concept and I'm like, I want to see that movie.
Where was this movie? I don't understand.
It's nuts. And then there was another one called Sanctuary that's about like a dominatrix and her submissive, which just
You know what? I think I heard of that one.
Did you? Yeah, that just seemed super interesting as well. So there was.
Yeah, I heard that one because that's familiar.
Yeah, it's like so funny that there were just 2 mainstream releases, both called Sanctuary.
Yeah.
December is getting a lot of award buzz.
I saw that.
Did you? Yeah. So that was one that
it's a girl, Julianne Moore.
Exactly.
Our girl, really.
that landed there. So I was like, oh man, I'm sad I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Maestro, the Bradley Cooper. It's Bradley Cooper and.
Oh my god.
I can't remember the other person that's in that, but That one was one that, like, as soon as I saw the trailer for it, and I'm like, I'm really interested in that. And
see, I wasn't super interested in it, but I probably would have watched it if I had the chance.
And that's getting some award buzz as well. And then a movie called Fair Play, which, like, Criticker said that I would rank like a 90 and then like an 85. I'm like, wow,
really?
I really shouldn't miss this. And unfortunately, I did wind up. I had it like most of the year, but didn't. I can't remember specifically.
Yeah, because sometimes we just go by what, like Critic or whatever recommends.
Yeah, an unexpected promotion at a cutthroat hedge fund pushes a young couple's relationship to the brink.
I feel like that movie might have come across my eyeballs, but it didn't register as anything to me.
Exec produced by Ryan Johnson. Yeah, interesting.
I mean, if he's going to put his name to it as a producer, that might mean something. I probably should watch that.
So that's my list. So Godzilla -1, Anatomy of a Fall, Poor Things, The Boy and the Heron, Zone of Interest, although we're going to check in on that. Sanctuary, May, December, Maestro, and Fair Play.
Fair enough.
Those were the ones that I really wanted to get around to seeing, and we are suitably de-pantsed because those are movies we just didn't see.
Sad.
Speaking of sad, ladies and gentlemen, this brings to a close. This is his worst part. This is his worst moment of every year.
I hate this.
This brings to a close the 10th Justin and Tyler Movie Awards for 2023. In the last 3 videos, everything that we've recorded today from sun up to sundown has been our top 30 best movies of 2023 and your favorite movies of 2023, because what a way to end this journey every single year. Obviously, we adore doing this. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the audience that looks forward to this every year. It's cool that there are people that look forward to this every year. Like, that's something that, again, I'm not a large creator. We've never been large creators on the internet, but we'll never take for granted the fact that we have a group of people that look forward to, like, the things that we have to say about movies. It's really dope. It's really awesome. And we can't thank you guys enough for that. So, that is it for Tyler and for Justin and the 10th Justin and Tyler Movie Awards. We will see you again in July when we present the mid-year movie awards for 2024. Let's see what kind of trouble we can get into and the movies that we can see in 2024. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.